Ellie, you wrote the book on Bill Barr, and this is what he said about a special master reviewing documents taken from the Mar-a-Lago search. He doesn't go along with what John Sale. He doesn't agree with what John Sale says. This is what he said, and then we'll talk.
The opinion, I think, was wrong, and I think the government should appeal it. It's deeply flawed in a number of ways. I don't think the appointment of a special master is going to hold up, but even if it does, I don't see it fundamentally changing the trajectory. In other words, I don't think it changes the ball game so much as maybe we'll have a rain delay for a couple of innings.
Well, I mean, it's partially he agrees with what John said, that, you know, a rain delay for a couple of innings, but he doesn't think that she got it right. What's your reaction to these comments, and what is at stake here?
Well, I certainly agree with both John and Bill Barr that this is a delay. This is a holdup. This is not going to determine any outcomes of the case. In terms of whether the judge got it right or wrong, let me just say this. Be wary of any blanket assertions that the judge was absolutely right or absolutely wrong on executive privilege, because the fact of the matter is we have very little case law on executive privilege. And you'll hear people from time to time make assertions like a former president does not have and cannot invoke executive privilege. That's just not right. The Supreme Court has said there can be narrow circumstances where a former president can invoke executive privilege. This is the kind of decision that is vested in our district court judges, our trial court judges. I think what this judge did is weigh two competing factors. On the one hand, not wanting to slow down or create unnecessary burden. On the other hand, as John said, let's be safe. Let's bring in a third party, independent, neutral outsider. So at a minimum, we will have an appearance here. We can tell the American public that all precautions were taken to guard the privileges. And I think the judge did a reasonable job of balancing those two factors.
Listen, the couple of times that we heard from the former Attorney General Bill Barr, he's been going against what, you know, the former president, Abby. He was one of Trump's biggest enablers, but now he's making a hard turn. This is what he said in the January 6th Select Committee. Watch this.
I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bullshit. I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he has, you know, lost contact with he's become detached from reality if he really believes this stuff. There was never an indication of interest in what the actual facts were.
He is partial to a certain word, Abby, because he's calling Trump's request for a special master a crock of ish. What message does this send?
You know, Bill Barr is such an interesting character in all of this. I think based on his testimony before the January 6th committee, it's pretty clear that he thought that something changed with Trump in those last months of his presidency, where he became detached from reality. He stopped listening to the people around him. So many cabinet officials like Barr put up with a lot of behavior from Trump that they personally didn't like, because they thought that Trump was still listening to the cooler heads, the rational heads. And that changed for Barr toward the end. And so I'm not surprised to see that he thinks that this is also a bit of a bridge too far. I am interested in, however, just the fact that Barr was sort of known as Attorney General as being someone who had a very strong belief in the power of the executive branch, the power of the president himself. And now he seems to be saying that, you know, Trump really doesn't have a valid executive privilege claim. You know, perhaps this is all just because of the bitter taste that's left in his mouth after all that Trump has said about him and the way that he departed the administration. But I mean, Barr, I think, has had a bit of a shift here when it comes to Trump. And it's a reflection of what a lot of people who left that administration at the end felt about Trump. They stayed for a lot of that presidency until the end. And they're in that club of people who thinks that perhaps Trump shouldn't be anywhere near the presidency. Although we should be clear, Don, I mean, Bill Barr has kind of danced around this issue of whether he would vote for Trump again, but a lot of people have kind of had it with a lot of these antics.
Ellie, I want you to weigh in, because, as I said, the last couple of times we've heard from him, it has not been pro-Trump. I mean, this is a guy who spun the Mueller report in favor of Trump. Again, you wrote the book. What's your response?
Yeah, I've given up trying to psychoanalyze Bill Barr. I think Abby hit the nail on the head there. I mean, This is a person who, let's not forget, despite whatever he's done over the last couple months, he spent 2 years lying to us, lying to Congress, lying to the American public, bailing Donald Trump out of trouble, distorting the facts, distorting the law, spreading conspiracy theories. He was one of the biggest proponents of the election fraud theory in the months leading up to the election. Now, as Abby said, he hit a certain point. I guess everybody's got their breaking point where he said, I'm willing to go this far. I'm willing to bend the truth this far. But at a certain point, I think Bill Barr realized it was over. The election was over. Donald Trump was out. He was out. And I think Bill Barr made a move that, at a minimum, was designed to serve his own self-interest, his rational self-interest, and say, I need to make a break. I need to call, I won't use his language, but BS. And I think we're seeing that even now in his comments on the special master.
Yeah. Mr. Sale, there's a Friday deadline for a joint filing on the special master, but these two sides haven't agreed on much. So how is this going to work?
Well, I don't think they're going to agree on anything. The judge will have a candidate in mind, and hopefully it'll be a candidate of such stature that the American people will have faith in the review and faith in the judiciary. You know, I know this judge has taken a lot of criticism in the last few days. I genuinely believe what the Chief Justice said. There are no Obama judges and there are no Trump judges. Once judges take that oath, I think they call it as they see it. I think Judge Cannon has done this.
But you don't think that, listen, maybe that's right, but you don't think maybe that they were judge shopping, considering that they ended up with this particular judge in this particular jurisdiction?
I know that's been said. They did not choose to intervene before Judge Reinhardt in the search warrant matter, but this case was filed in West Palm Beach, not in Fort Pierce, where she sits, and it went into the wheel, and it was randomly assigned. And most people who've said otherwise don't practice in this district.